Hello there. If you have a business and you prepared an invoice to a customer and later down the road you realize that there is a slim to no chance in collecting the funds owing to your business, then you may want to consider writing off the sale as a bad debt, either in full or in part. I'm Janice, and I'll walk you through the process. Let's go. Claiming a bad debt isn't really that difficult. Many people don't understand them, but the thought of them is worse than the process. We'll take a moment to explain how we got here, as it's a critical step in understanding the second phase, which is the bad debt itself. To create a bad debt, you must first have a sales invoice that was drawn up in the past. It can be 1 day ago or 10 years ago. The creation date of the sales invoice can be really any date, as long as it's before the date of the bad debt. The need for a bad debt can occur for any reason. If the customer hasn't paid you some or all your original invoiced amount. It could be that you deemed the customer is unable to pay and you choose not to take any further action in collecting the funds. The customer went out of business, they passed away. Any reason is fine if the entire sales invoice amount wasn't paid to you or even in part. If the customer still owes you the entire sales invoice amount, you want to claim the whole invoice as a bad debt. If they paid you part of it, only the remaining amount can be written off. The portion of the invoice to be written off as a bad debt requires a negative invoice to be generated. Create a brand new invoice, no different if you were doing a sales invoice for any customer. You would address it to the customer with the bad debt, date it for the current date, not the date of the original invoice. In the body of the invoice, you want to reference the original sales invoice number and date and a small description as to why the bad debt exists. It could be simply lack of payment or business closed. Whatever the reason. As far as the figures are concerned, you will want them all as negatives. If the original invoice was $1,000 plus HST, the bad debt invoice would be just that, a negative $1,000, and the HST would be negative as well. Assuming you are writing off the entire amount, if not, adjust the figures accordingly, but this invoice must be all negatives. The original invoice was claimed in your books on the date it was created. Again, it could be 5 days ago or 5 years ago. But the bad debt invoice would be dated for today. There are no time restrictions as to how long to wait to write off a sale. The bad debt invoice will not directly reverse the sale, but it will be counted in your bad debts expense account, thus reducing your income tax and reclaiming the HST that you likely already paid, so you don't pay as much on your next HST filing. The original sales invoice would have already been provided for posting. Just provide the bad debt invoice to A1 Bookkeeping Services to be posted as well. Our firm will take care of the rest. If you find that after you wrote off a sale or in part and some or all the funds suddenly became collectible, then you will need to prepare yet another sales invoice to indicate the funds that you received. Don't forget to add the HST if applicable. In this invoice, you are going to reference the original invoice as well as the bad debt invoice. The date on the invoice is the date the customer paid you the funds. Basically, you are reversing the original invoice, or least in part, and reversing the reversal invoice. Yes, it can be confusing, but it is the steps, and it's not as challenging as one may think. That invoice also requires an explanation and given to A1 Bookkeeping Services for posting. That's it, not a difficult process, but it confuses many people. You aren't alone. The reason for the explanations on the invoices, it's because it provides an audit trail. Look at it as transparency. That's a good thing. If you haven't seen the other videos in our library, there is no better time than the present. I'm Janice, and thanks for watching, and see you soon.